We've told you about Sheldon Adelson before. He's the sugar daddy of Newt Gingrich. He's already given $11 million, him and his wife have, to Newt Gingrich's campaign. He'd given $7 million to Newt Gingrich's other ventures before he started running for president. Forbes magazine did an interview with him, and the results were fascinating. Are you ready for this? He says, quote, "I might give $10 million or $100 million to Gingrich." Can you imagine? He's like, oh, yeah, Newt's trailing a little bit. Yeah. $100 million. $100 million. What would it be to him? Nothing. We've shown you this analysis before. He makes about $33 million a day. So that would be 3 days of work for him. Isn't that amazing? So he's, yeah. You know that the amount that he's giving would be the equivalent of $440, not to the average American, to the average millionaire. That's how little $100 million is to him. Amazing, right? So then he goes on to say this awesome quote. "I'm against very wealthy people attempting to or influencing elections. But as long as it's doable, I'm going to do it." What? But that doesn't make any sense. He's like, I'm totally against influencing elections. That's why I'm doing it. He's like, I don't have to make sense. I'm a Republican. Okay, this lack of sense continues. He says, quote, "I don't believe in negative campaigning." But wait a minute, Newt took your entire $11 million and spent it all exclusively on negative campaigning. Yeah. It's like, well, nothing I can do about that. Well, so then you do agree with negative campaigning. Otherwise, you wouldn't say that you're thinking of giving him another $100 million after he spent the first $11 million on total negative campaigning. He's like, hypocrisy. I jump in it. He's like, I don't care, man. I got over $20 billion. I just make up the rules as I go along. Who cares? Fascinating. All right, then let's see what he's got for us next. Right. Oh, I love this. Then he goes on to say, Obama, this guy's a no good socialist. That's why. It's not just that he cares about Israel and a right-wing government of Israel. It's a domestic policy he cares about. He says, quote, "What scares me is the continuation of the socialist-style economy we've been experiencing for almost 4 years here." Now, what has that socialism led to? During the Obama administration, no one, literally no one, has seen their wealth increase more than Sheldon Adelson. Isn't that amazing? Under Obama, he got stinking rich. Not even Zuckerberg at Facebook accrued as much wealth under Obama as Sheldon Adelson did. Number one in the category. Turns out, says, oh, goddamn socialist. He won't let any of us make any money. No. I've talked about the height of hypocrisy before, but this is it. This is the pinnacle. You can't get any more hypocritical than that. Unreal. So, how about people who are criticizing him and saying, hey, wait a minute, look at all of your hypocrisy and your statements that make no sense? Quote, "Those people are either jealous or professional critics." You're just hating, man. You're just hating. You expect me to make sense and have logic and reason? That's for suckers, man. I love that scene in Kingpin when Bill Murray wins $1 million. And he's like, I'm rich. I'm above the law. Sheldon Adelson, he's like, I'm rich. I'm above logic and reason. Like normal rules don't apply anymore. I'm picturing Adelson like going around the bowling rink like Bill Murray there. All right, now, what other interesting thing here? So, everybody knows that Adelson is a huge advocate for right-wing policies in Israel. And in this interview, he says, look, that's not the only thing I care about, but I do care about it. He makes no qualms about that. And his wife is an Israeli citizen. And it turns out that his kids carry around Israeli passports. And he says, yes, I do want to influence politicians so that they are more in favor of the right-wing government of Israel. Now, everybody sees that as perfectly normal. Nobody even puts a second thought behind it. Well, of course, that's what you do in America, right? But now let me reverse it and say, what if he was Chinese? He was Chinese-American. He's an American, right? His wife is Chinese, a national, right? And his kids carry around Chinese passports. And he goes around buying Republican politicians. And by the way, it's not just Newt Gingrich. He says, well, you know, if Romney or maybe even Santorum advances, I'm not sure I believe him about Santorum because of some insiders that had said earlier that he doesn't like Santorum. But anyway, if one of those other Republicans advance, I will pour money into their campaign. Imagine if that's the same thing, but with Chinese folks. Say, oh yeah, well, obviously I'm going to buy your politicians so that they could help China. Well, obviously, I'm going to buy the US president for the country of China. What would happen? Am I right in assuming that people would lose their stuff? I mean, people would be spraying it around like, what? Chinese? This guy's red Chinese. He'd take our job. But if you say it in regards to not just Israel, which is an ally, there's nothing wrong with that, but like to the extreme right-wing government of Israel and say, I'm going to just hand you the Republican presidential candidate, everybody says, well, of course, that makes perfect sense. That's it. We move on with our lives. Oh, okay. Okay, well, that's that then.